Hello, my name is Harper and I'm the teen librarian at the Lewiston Public Library. I'm so happy to be here today to introduce our Lewiston Youth Poet Laureate, Ryleigh Mae Emmert. Ryleigh is a Lewiston High School student who uses writing and poetry as an outlet to express ideas about matters that are important to her, whether personal or more widespread social political issues. Last month, we were very lucky to have Ryleigh share one of her poems with us for the Lewiston Public Library's National Poetry Month series, where we featured a variety of local Maine poets reading their work. You can find Ryleigh's poem Sofa Scene and many other local poets' videos archived on our LPL Facebook and YouTube pages if you're interested. This is Ryleigh's first time being involved in the LA Art Walk and also her first time sharing some of these works, so please join me in giving her a warm welcome.
Hello, my name is Ryleigh Mae Emmert, and I am the City of Lewiston, Maine's Youth Poet Laureate, and I am also a rising junior at Lewiston High School. I am very excited to be a part of the LA Art Walk for the first time and in its virtual format this year. I believe strongly in this event because of its ability to display the cities of Lewiston and Auburn in a beautiful way and to showcase the integrity of our artists in this area. Today, I will be reading you 5 original poems, with 2 having already been shared to the public and 3 being brand new. I am happy to be reading you today Sofa Scene, Loneliness, You and I and Us All Together, An Interesting Thing, and What I Need You to Know. I'm going to begin by reading you Sofa Scene, a poem that I wrote for the Lewiston Public Library's National Poetry Month celebration in which I was featured in recently. I wrote the poem in order to recommend us being mindful of both ourselves and others in a positive way in light of COVID-19. To preface, Sophrosyne is an ancient Greek concept of an ideal of excellence of character and soundness of mind, resulting in one's true realization of self and true happiness. So here is Sophrosyne. We are often aggrieved by our very own lust for life, a tedious yearn for the instant gratification that we think we need, for vibrancy to course through our delicate veins, and our sense of self to be satisfied by a mirage of alluringly perfect camellia flowers that we can only hope are to be planted into our ordinary soil, but that some will relentlessly contend for. Though, perhaps, a new creed could be sown into our sod, like Sophrosyne, the seeds of tranquility, appreciation, and contentment that bloom beautifully. So if we can unroot the yellow hyacinths and carnations of fruitless envy and not pay much attention to the invasive chickweed that infiltrates our gardens, while being careful to tend to our sanguine gardenias, we can all hopefully achieve a state of Sophrosyne. To follow up, I'm going to move on to a poem called Loneliness that I believe is perfectly encapsulated by the title in meaning and is not supposed to be taken extremely literally. But here is Loneliness. Quite often, my callow senses are met with the hissing of white noise, the growl of the sullen winds, and perhaps the clawing of the tree branches against my crisp window panes, before my surroundings set in which I am alone, blanketed in darkness, with only a sliver of the fluttering moonlight crawling amongst my room, in which I am alone. This is all that I hear, besides the addition of the squeaking of the floorboards as my heartbeat lumbers across them. And all that I feel is that I myself have become a cavern to all of the lonely things creeping out at night to taunt me, as in the evening twilight that bellows its gloom in bold confrontation, and the coyotes that paw their way through the deep green brush, that I must not provoke with my profound glares, because all of the lonely things are quite similar to I, in the fact that we may aspire to prosper in the ferociously roaring metropolis up ahead, but instead we rest in this loneliness that we have become accustomed to, where we are quiet yet delighted by the peace that comes in turn. I now would like to move on to the first poem that I have ever shared publicly as the city's Youth Poet Laureate, and this is not my best work, but I think it is very significant in my journey as Poet Laureate, and this might not be the first version you're hearing, but this is You and I and Us all together. You over there, perched under the disheveled elm tree in the park, cupping your 50-cent cup of coffee that I can only assume doesn't taste good, but is efficient in keeping you from becoming synonymous with the pile of snow that you rest your fragile body upon. You over there, keep glancing up at the darkness of the night sky with a glimmer of hope that you will become immersed in serenity and filled with warmth. However, it fades in and out as you are alone, perched under the disheveled elm tree in the park, drifting off into the depth of sleep, until a hand reaches out to yours, and you are slowly lifted from the despair that has cradled you in its arms. For that warm hand is there to smile at you, to guide you, and to heal you. That hand is there, for if you and I and us all together are well as one, we are as prosperous as a feeble young bird that spreads its wings for the earliest of times. The next poem that I will be reading to you is called An Interesting Thing. And I wrote this poem because I have some trouble with losing my memory really quick at random times that can be very frustrating. And I feel as that a lot of people also struggle with that. So an interesting thing is mostly about that, but also not to be taken quite literally. Here is an interesting thing. My mind is an interesting thing that does interesting things, but that fails to hold on to interesting things and to use those interesting things, that it simply ejects from its small train of thought that can often be observed to run around and around in circles as if to perpetually pursue nothing. My mind is an interesting thing in the way that it can decipher the most remarkable of cryptography and produce some visionary scrawl, but cannot seem to grasp what I could have possibly just ate for lunch for only 10 minutes prior, or commemorate the pigment of the tulips that I saw maybe only 5 minutes ago. My mind is an interesting thing in its ability to ponder the inner workings of the most complex systems of society, like the courts and the sciences and the copious details regarding much of ancient history, but also loses the name of that man I had a lengthy conversation with at the bus stop for what felt like an eternity. My mind is an interesting thing in the way that it encourages me to organize my clothes by color, in the order of the rainbow, by size, by stitch, and even brand, but causes me to go to school without my backpack because the routine thought to bring it just slipped away. My mind is an interesting thing that does all of these interesting things, but I often wish it would exclude performing a few of those interesting things and to not make me forget what I enjoy or what I detest, so that my mind could be just slightly more of an ordinary thing that is not necessarily be ridden with unruly, interesting things. But in hand with this longing, I must know that my mind is, in fact, an interesting thing. And without it being an interesting thing, I would be dull and rather prosaic, and my memory might not be so bad, but I myself would not be a very interesting thing. And the very last poem I'm going to read has a bit of a deeper message. It is called What I Need You to Know, and it primarily focuses on mental health and someone who is struggling and reaching out to that person to make sure that they are okay, because in a time like this, it is hard to be. So this is what I need you to know. I know that you are tired. I know that you desire hope. I know that the colors of the earth are no longer as vibrant to you, and that the weight resting on your shoulders has caused you to hurt. I know that you've grown weary of the misfortunes out your way, but in acknowledging this, you must comprehend that I need you to stay. I know that your eyes no longer gleam at the sights of the roaring tides, and that the humming of the bees doesn't fill you with trepidation. I know that a speech or hymn will not relieve your melancholy, though I hope that either could at least encourage you to experiment with some rationalization. For I know that you are questioning why the cards you've been dealt with have been heinous, and why conformity is the only solution to reaching your nirvana, because you feel that your happiness can only be present if your life is serene as the fauna. All that I need you to know is that you belong here as much as any form of nature, like the grass beneath your feet and the trees that tower over your head, and the luminous moon that captivates your perception. All that I need you to know is that I need you to stay, because despite your adverse state of being, you must know that you are greater than this detriment that you find yourself having to audaciously struggle to overcome. Thank you for watching my poetry presentation that I've shared with you today. I hope that you enjoyed all of the poems that I shared and that you continue to watch the rest of the LA Art Walk today. I hope that you continue to support the arts, and I thank you for doing it now in such difficult times. Thank you for the support, and I hope you enjoy the LA Art Walk.